There's a peculiar paradox I have watched for a lifetime. Two people stand before family and friends, promise to share a life, a roof, even a name, yet quietly hesitate to share a bank account. Love is declared infinite, but trust is suddenly placed on a budget. Hidden behind this paradox is a single financial decision that silently divides American marriages into two groups: those who live in chronic tension about money, and those who turn money into a quiet ally of peace. Most couples think the question is simple: should we put everything together or keep everything separate? But that is the trap. The real fault line in a marriage is not whether you combine accounts, but how you structure the one decision that almost no one is taught to make. There is a third way, rarely discussed, quietly practiced, that protects both your independence and your unity, and it does more to prevent financial resentment than any salary increase ever will. Before we reach that structure, we must first walk through the landscape that surrounds it, the emotions, the myths, and the illusions that Mr. Market whispers into the ear of every couple. If you stay with me until the end, I will reveal this overlooked decision in plain terms, how it works, why it works, and how it can become for you a margin of safety, not only for your money, but for your marriage itself. There's a peculiar paradox that plays out across countless dinner tables in America. Two people join their lives in marriage, sharing dreams, a home, even a last name, yet hesitate to share a bank account. It's as if love were infinite, yet trust must be rationed. I have watched through decades of market cycles how money, when misunderstood, can silently erode both portfolios and partnerships. Yet when approached with reason, it becomes the quiet architect of harmony and freedom. The question, should we combine bank accounts, is not merely about practicality. It is a referendum on philosophy, yours, your spouse's, and together, your family's. Let us begin, as all sound investments do, by confronting uncertainty. Modern marriage, like modern markets, is defined by choice. A century ago, most couples had little debate on this matter. Husbands earned, wives managed, and accounts were shared by default. Today, both spouses often contribute financially, bringing separate incomes, debts, and financial histories into the union. The options are plentiful: keep everything separate, blend completely, or adopt a hybrid where joint and individual accounts coexist. But options do not equal wisdom. Choice without principle leads to confusion, and confusion in finance is the seed of distrust. So, let us build a principle not on custom or convenience, but on the plain arithmetic of human behavior and economic rationality. The impulse to merge or separate money mirrors the great duality of the investor's heart, the desire for independence and the need for integration. A successful investor must know when to stand apart from the herd and when to align with the collective. Likewise, a successful marriage must harmonize individuality with unity.
Here enters the familiar specter of our old friend and adversary, Mr. Market. He is as present in our homes as he is on Wall Street. In marriage, he shows his face as fluctuating emotions: fear of losing control, greed for convenience, impulse toward secrecy, anxiety about fairness. One day he whispers, "Protect your autonomy, keep your accounts separate." The next day he insists, "Combine everything, love knows no boundaries." And like every other time in history, he is alternately euphoric and irrational. If you let him set the tone of your marriage, you will experience the same volatility the untrained investor suffers in markets, moments of euphoria punctuated by crashes of resentment. The intelligent couple, like the intelligent investor, must observe Mr. Market, but never obey him. They must ask not what feels right in the moment, but what endures. For what is marriage if not a long-term partnership? And what is a long-term partnership if not a joint venture in building security, stewardship, and peace? When I speak of marriage and money, I invite you to picture an old New England home, built brick by brick, weathered by storms but held together by shared purpose. Each brick represents a disciplined act, saving a portion of income, paying down debt, choosing value over vanity. The mortar is trust. Without it, the structure crumbles, no matter how fine the materials. Sharing a bank account does not build trust by itself, but it can serve as the scaffold upon which that trust is reinforced when used wisely and openly. Let us define what combining accounts truly means. It does not mean surrendering autonomy. To combine accounts intelligently is to create a common financial base, one that covers shared goals, housing, children, retirement, emergencies, while still respecting personal discretion. It is not a merger of selfhood, but of purpose. It is the establishment of what I call the household balance sheet of integrity. In the corporate world, partners who combine resources without an operating agreement are destined for conflict. Marriage offers an emotional operating agreement, love, but not necessarily a financial one. The prudent couple builds theirs intentionally. They begin by disclosing assets and liabilities fully, then agree on transparent systems, one joint account for shared obligations and smaller individual accounts for discretionary spending. In doing so, they mirror the most robust enterprises, those that maintain shared liquidity while granting department-level independence. Marriage is not unlike a corporation, though the dividend it pays is peace rather than profit. Each spouse is both a stakeholder and a fiduciary. Transparency, then, is not optional. It is the very currency of stability. When one partner conceals spending or withholds financial participation, the marriage begins to mirror a company where employees hoard information, eroding culture from within. Financial secrecy between spouses is a quiet bear market in trust. Yet do not misinterpret this as an argument for total financial fusion. I have seen prudent investors lose their independence in the name of unity. One must beware the illusion of total control masquerading as intimacy. Just as diversification shields you from the volatility of a single stock, maintaining personal spending freedom shields both partners from resentment. A healthy marriage is diversified emotionally and financially. It allows for separate expressions within shared boundaries. Consider an example. Imagine John and Mary, a couple living on Main Street, Pittsburgh. John earns $90,000 a year. Mary earns $70,000. They decide to contribute proportionally to a joint account that pays for rent, groceries, savings, and vacations. John contributes 56%, Mary 44%. Each keeps a personal account for hobbies and gifts. In this model, there is both union and autonomy, efficiency and dignity. When Mary buys her sister a birthday present, she does not require John's permission. When John chooses to invest a few $100s in dividend stocks, he does so without secrecy. Every month they review their joint statements, openly and calmly.
Resentment finds no foothold in their collaboration because sunlight is a potent disinfectant against suspicion. In this structure, the joint account becomes not a restraint, but a fortress of reason. It enforces clarity. The couple's shared expenses are known, their commitments quantified, their savings visible. It allows them to defend against financial storms as a united front. Whether the storm is inflation, job loss, or unexpected medical bills, the principle remains. Combined clarity beats individual opacity. To further our lesson, observe that most joint financial failures stem not from lack of income, but absence of alignment. A household making $200,000 can still collapse under the weight of confusion. 2 cars, separate credit cards, conflicting investment accounts, unspoken expectations. The fix is not more money, it is more structure. A well-run household mirrors a well-run firm. Clearly defined inflows, transparent outflows, regular audits, and shared long-term goals. To blend accounts wisely, therefore, requires an understanding of financial temperament. Every investor has one, so does every spouse. There is the spender, akin to the growth investor, drawn to rewards. There is the saver, the value investor, seeking safety and margin of error. The tragedy occurs when these temperaments collide without communication. The blessing comes when they are balanced deliberately. A marriage that merges spending and saving instincts intelligently can outperform either spouse's solo portfolio.
Now, let us consider risk. Many fear that combining accounts exposes them to vulnerability. They worry, what if my spouse is irresponsible or our marriage falters? This fear, though often whispered rather than spoken, is real and valid. But risk, as every investor learns, cannot be eliminated, only managed. To combine accounts blindly is as foolish as buying a company's stock without examining its financials. To refuse entirely, however, is like refusing to invest at all for fear of loss. The answer lies in prudent governance. Start small, maintain safeguards, and review regularly. The fortress of joint finance should have gates, emergency access, defined exits, protective legal structure if needed. A prenuptial or postnuptial agreement, far from being unromantic, is akin to an insurance policy. It sets the rules of partnership not for times of euphoria, but for times of adversity. Even in marriage, prudence is affection's greatest ally. In practice, the intelligent union might begin with 3 accounts: a joint operating account for shared expenses, rent, mortgage, utilities, childcare; a joint savings or investment account for long-term goals; 2 individual accounts for personal spending or side investments. This structure accommodates the dual nature of marriage, partnership and individuality, transparency and trust. It is flexible enough to honor differences in income and temperament while preserving unity of purpose. The analogy to portfolio management is exact. The joint accounts are the core investments, safe, stable, long-term. The personal accounts are the satellite positions, individual bets, creative ventures, or discretionary uses. When balanced, this structure yields both peace and performance. Let us not overlook the psychological dimension. Money in a marriage is rarely about arithmetic alone. It is about meaning, power, identity, and memory. Every dollar carries an emotional signature. To some, a separate account symbolizes independence. To others, it signals distance. To combine completely can feel like solidarity or like suffocation. Thus, the wisdom lies not in a formula, but in a philosophy.
that the purpose of combining accounts is not control, but coordination. Consider another metaphor. Two rivers merging to form one do not lose their source. They retain their origin, even as they flow together toward a broader horizon. Likewise, couples must respect each other's financial histories, their habits, fears, and preferences. Doing so transforms money from a battleground into a bridge. I have often said that in investing, temperament is more important than intellect. The same holds true for marriage. A couple with the patience to discuss money without accusation possesses a competitive advantage over those who earn more but communicate less. In the long game of compounding, whether capital or companionship, emotional discipline always beats impulsive enthusiasm. History, too, lends its lessons. During the Great Depression, many families survived not because they had ample savings, but because they shared governance. Every expense was transparent. Wives and husbands knew the shape of scarcity together, and through this cooperation, they preserved dignity. The joint account then was not a symbol of control, it was a lifeline of mutual accountability. Contrast this with the speculative mania of later generations, when couples lived on credit while pretending to live in prosperity. Trust was purchased on borrowed interest, and when the bills came due, both marriage and solvency cracked under stress. Thus we see the cyclical truth. During times of abundance, unity erodes. During hardship, its absence is felt most deeply. To combine bank accounts is to choose foresight over crisis. It acknowledges that partnership must be tested before trouble arrives. Still, I am not unaware of modern realities. The millennial couple carrying student debt, the late-in-life marriage after divorce, the blended family navigating child support obligations. These are not hypotheticals, but the contemporary face of American households. In these cases, financial complexity can make full combination impractical or even unwise. But even here, the principle remains. Transparency and structure are non-negotiable. Separate accounts may exist, but separate realities must not. Each spouse should know the household's full financial picture, even if their own accounts remain independent. For secrecy is the costliest liability of all. I ask you to pause and imagine the symbolic weight of your financial choices. Marriage vows speak of joining hearts, yet money joins lives. A shared bank account is not merely a vessel for transactions, it is a declaration of mutual stewardship. It says, we are in this together, not only emotionally, but economically. The old phrase, for richer or poorer, was never about the amount, it was about the attitude, the recognition that fortune fluctuates, but solidarity must not.
Now let us visit Mr. Market once more, for he is never far from our domestic affairs. He will seduce you with comparison. Other couples do it differently, so should you. He will frighten you with hypothetical disasters, urge you toward secrecy for your own protection, and whisper suspicion where there should be candor. Ignore him. His moods are contagious, his wisdom superficial. When you resist his noise and decide according to your own values and financial facts, you win not only money, but serenity. For serenity, not sensation, is the supreme return of wise financial conduct. And there is no greater index of a healthy union than the absence of financial anxiety. When a couple knows where their money flows, when they agree on their goals and trust their systems, the energy once spent on conflict becomes available for creation,
raising children, serving community, or simply enjoying the quiet dignity of peace. Let me offer a guiding principle for you to carry into every financial discussion with your spouse. The intelligent partner is patient with differences, but intolerant of dishonesty. You may debate philosophy, separate versus joint spending, but never tolerate secrecy or deceit. Once deception touches money, it corrodes love itself. For love is built on confidence, and confidence is built on truth, financial truth included. It is no coincidence that couples who review their finances together annually tend to stay married longer. This is not because spreadsheets create romance, but because accountability breeds respect. Shared review is not about micromanagement, it is about alignment. It is the household equivalent of an annual report to shareholders, except that your shared dividends take the form of stability and freedom. Freedom, in fact, is the destination of all this discipline. The purpose of combining accounts is not restriction, but liberation from duplicative worry, distrust, and confusion. When both partners understand their shared finances, life decisions, buying a home, having children, starting a business, become less uncertain. Financial clarity converts fear into foresight. Think of this as the moral margin of safety in matrimony, the buffer created by honesty and planning before emotion can turn into regret. Just as I have told generations of investors to never make an investment decision on emotion, so too must I tell you, never make a marital financial decision from fear or ego. Independence does not require isolation. Unity does not require surrender. Both can coexist when guided by reason. Some would argue that money and love should remain separate, that the purity of affection diminishes when subject to arithmetic. I would answer that love untested by arithmetic is sentiment, not commitment. Accountability is not the enemy of affection, it is its proof. In every generation, there will be new forms of finance, joint apps, digital wallets, automated budgets. But the moral principle remains constant. Where transparency thrives, trust compounds. Where secrecy grows, ruin follows. Therefore, my reasoned conclusion is this: combine your accounts not as a ritual, but as a reflection of shared intent. Begin modestly, build gradually, and keep communication constant. Whether you end up with one joint account or several coordinated ones matters less than the fact that you treat your household finances as a single enterprise devoted to mutual flourishing. Marriage is the most intimate partnership one can enter. It demands the same virtues as value investing: patience, honesty, moderation, and independence of mind. Combine your finances as you would your future, deliberately, thoughtfully, with respect for risk and reverence for trust. Do so, and you will discover that your financial peace is not an end, but a byproduct of shared integrity. And remember this final axiom: in portfolios and partnerships alike, the goal is not to win, but to endure.